Apparently in the James Bond universe, the way they crash through things, they just make everything out of plywood. Spectre is the 24th installment in the James Bond movie franchise, once again starring Daniel Craig as 007, trying to find his way through another villainous mastermind plot to take over the world. This is a James Bond movie through and through, for good and for bad. Let's get to both. First, the good. The first scene in this movie is possibly the best action scene I've ever seen. It is incredible. It owned me. They start with this glorious, beautifully choreographed one-shot tracking shot for the first, I'm guessing, 5 to 10 minutes of the movie, following through the streets of the Day of the Dead as it takes place in Mexico City. It is beautiful and breathtaking. And then it goes into this crazy action scene with exploding buildings and a helicopter fight scene that is easily the most intense and incredible stuff I've ever seen done on a helicopter ever. I loved it. I wish the whole movie would have been the first 15 minutes because it was absolutely incredible. Then the typical James Bond trippy, weird title sequence rolls, and the rest of the movie feels long and boring to me. Now, there's some reasons for that, and we'll get into those. One is it is very long, 2.5 hours long. And if you're not in it, it's going to feel even longer. And I wasn't. There are a couple other good things I do want to mention. One, I think the performances are fine. I especially love, I think his name is Andrew Scott, who plays C, a new character. And he was also Moriarty in BBC's Sherlock. I think he's wonderful. I think he's great and he does good work here. Everybody else does pretty good work here too. I also think Sam Mendes, the director, has a beautiful eye for cinematography. He frames his camera really, really well. This movie is absolutely gorgeous, just like Skyfall was. Skyfall was beautiful. This movie is beautiful, but beautiful isn't enough when I'm not engaged in the story, and I wasn't engaged in this story. I think it has to do mostly with the idea of payoff. There's a lot of things set up in this movie that have either no payoff or very wimpy payoffs, very weak kind of run-of-the-mill, oh, that's how that's going to resolve kind of things. And it's throughout the entire film. In fact, on the podcast this week, I listed several different things in the movie in our spoiler section that had very weak payoffs. And that makes for a very weak and uninteresting story. Through the whole thing, I don't care about these characters. I don't have a reason to root for them. I don't have an investment. And I find myself going, why do I even care about any of this? And that's kind of how I felt through the entire movie. That's not a great way to enjoy a story. Now, if you're a Bond fan, I think there's a lot of fan service here that you will enjoy, that you will feel is fun. If you're not a Bond fan, I think a lot of that stuff's going to go right over your head. It's going to feel a little weird, strange, and out of place, and you're going to feel like you're missing things. This movie really depends on you knowing the last few Daniel Craig Bond movies to enjoy the plot. And even if you've seen them, it's probably been a while. So if you're going to enjoy this movie on another level, I'd almost recommend a refresher course on the Daniel Craig Bond series, which not all of us have the time to do. And so it, again, makes for a distracting and uninteresting 2.5 hour experience. Overall, Spectre, if it could have lived up to that first 15 to 20 minutes, would have been one of the most amazing movies ever. As it is, it completely falls apart for me and becomes a tedious and boring experience, enough that I would drag it down to a C-. Thanks for checking out this Your Movie Friend review. We'll get to the best ever challenge here in a bit. First, if you want to know more about what goes on here, click the cards up here. A lot of great stuff there. It'll shift out. You'll be able to check out other reviews that have happened recently, a link to the website. You'll be able to support the channel if you'd like to do that. I would highly encourage you, I mentioned the podcast, to subscribe to that. That's SiftPop, SiftPop. We do a weekly podcast and a weekly spoiler podcast on one of the movies that comes out each weekend. So encourage that. Check it out, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you do podcasts, you should be able to find it. Also, follow me on Periscope. If you've got the Periscope app, I Periscope after every movie I come out of. I've been really enjoying our conversations there, talking about these movies. So join me there, and I'd appreciate it. All right, on to the best ever challenge. This is where you name the best movie ever in a particular category. Also try to guess my choice. Let's do Daniel Craig movies. He has done more than be James Bond for 4 films. Best Daniel Craig movie. I'm going to give you a clue for mine. Mine is the one where he never appears on screen, and it's directed by Steven Spielberg. I should narrow it down for you. Take a guess at mine in the comments. Leave your answer there as well. And as always, here's 5 extra seconds to hit subscribe. Hit the logo right down in this corner.